YouTube pards. Jack Spade back here with you with another adventure of High Noon Leatherworks. So today we're continuing on the Stick Horse Leathercraft project, and yes, I do have a new microphone finally, so it's hooked up, it's ready to go. So hopefully this audio will be good, and come on in and let's get started. Alright, so today what we're going to do is I'm going to put my gloves on first, because I just finished just a few minutes ago off camera putting some dye on these pieces, so I don't want to get that all over me and have to wear that for the next 3 or 4 days before it wears off. So I dyed the black part of the eyes. I made the bigger part saddle tan color, and then the leather for the horse, remember we reprocessed it out of a leather bag, so it was already brown, but I put some medium brown dye on top of it, and what I did is just kind of even it out a little bit. So I've got those two pieces done. So what I want to do before I move on to sewing, and we are going to be doing something different in this video, we're going to be using my sewing machine. So I'll explain what that is and where you can pick it up, and that'll give you some information on that. Hopefully that goes well. So I'm going to set one of these aside. I need to get my rivet setter. Remember, my rivet's going to end up being the pupil of my eye. So I'll put these together, and hopefully my rivets are long enough. Put it through the back piece of the horse head, put on my saddle tan, and then put on my black for the inside. And I'm praying this is gonna set with it being that thick, that many layers. We'll see what happens here. And I'll get a good hard set on it here. And it looks like it did. So there you go. There's one of the eyes. And we've got an outside circle of the saddle tan, then the inside with the black, and then the silver that makes it look like the pupil. Just like this one, except this one was white and black. So there's one down. Let's go ahead and put the other one in and stick the rivet in from the back. Enter that piece of material, lay it on the setter. Again, put the saddle tan, the larger one, then the black one over the top of that. Put the other piece of the rivet in. This is the tough part, making sure you get it fit perfect because of the thickness. And it looks like it did okay. So there's the second one. You can see what it looks like on the back. So now we're ready to go ahead and stitch this. So I'll move the camera again over to the sewing machine bench, and we'll get started over there. This is a hand crank Chinese made shoe repair sewing machine, and it will stitch leather. Um, it, you'll find it hard to stitch things like uh, heavy things like holsters or something like that, because that's two pretty thick pieces, at least pretty thick pieces of leather you're going through. I've tried it. I've had little success because it wants to bend or break the needles. It's not that the machine won't have the power, it's just the needles can't handle it. So maybe I could find some bigger, thicker needles. I don't know. I haven't tried that yet. But on thinner stuff, like I use this on wallets, checkbook covers, purses, things that are thinner leather, it normally works pretty well. So it's just a hand crank. Doesn't have a motor or anything. You can go online, YouTube, look these up. There's guys that put motors on them. But they're fairly inexpensive. I think I picked this up on Amazon or eBay, one of those, for about, I'm wanting to say $169 or less, something like that. Go check it out if you're interested. It does come with a big spool of thread, or at least this one did. So there's a couple of companies out there, and that's from China, making these things. So go check them out if you're interested. I'm going to take these two pieces and I'm going to put them front to front, and I'm going to use some of these little plastic clamps just to clamp down and hold these pieces while I start my stitching. I don't want these pieces moving around as I'm working my way around the sewing machine. Let me change the camera angle just for a second. Maybe that'll help a little bit. I want you to be able to see what I'm doing here. So I'll come back around here and put another one about right there. And maybe that'll keep that stable as I work my way around putting some stitches in this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to end up turning this inside out like a bag. So I'm going to have to be very careful not to stitch too far in at the bottom here where the stick goes in, because I still have to flip this inside out and then fill it full of filler, some lightweight filler like a pillow or something. So I'm gonna start over here in this corner, and I'm gonna work my way around the face and then up toward the ears and then back down. And then when I get back down to the other side, I'll stop. Once I turn it inside out and fill it, then I'll come back and I'll put my final stitch across here, leaving my opening for my stick. So hopefully that'll make sense when I get to that point. So I'm going to start down here. And the nice thing about this machine is that you can go as fast or slow as you want, because you're in control. At least the hand crank would be. And these guys that are putting these motors on them, I don't know how much control they have, but again, I put my foot down right here, and it's manual to raise and lower the foot, the walking foot. And again, you can go as quickly or as slow as you want, whatever's comfortable for you. What I try to do is use the edge of the foot as a guide. And you can tell, any of you that have watched my other videos know that's much quicker than hand sewing. Hand sewing, it's excellent. Saddle stitching is excellent. It's a great stitch. It's never going to come out. But as far as something large like this, much quicker using the machine. Again, you can go as fast or as slow as you want. I just try to go at a very comfortable pace so I can keep my stitch about the same all the way around the edge. And one thing about these machines too is they're very picky about, at least mine is, about lubrication. So I just always take some 3-in-1 oil and oil it every time before I use it, and I don't seem to have any lubrication problems. Again, I'm stopping every once in a while and I'm looking to make sure that my bobbin's still pulling. I still have thread in my bobbin. That's another thing, these bobbins on these, you have to, it's pretty thick thread, so you have to rewind your bobbin pretty often. It does have a rewinder on it, but I didn't have any luck using it. It's just kind of a friction wheel they put on the back, and again, I didn't really have that much luck using it. Looks like I missed a stitch there. I'll have to go back and hit that again. Again, it might not be the perfect thing to use for every project, but if you're going to do a lot of wallets and thinner material stuff, it works great. So, you know, it may be one of those things that this will work perfect for the crafts that you're doing, things you're making. This might get a little tricky up here by these eyes. I don't want to miss my stitch, but I don't want to catch my thicker material either. I don't know whether I missed it or not. I'll have to look here in a second. Again, I'm taking these clamps off. Yeah, I missed it a little bit. I'm taking these clamps off as I go, so trying to keep it as even as possible. The bottom piece seems to want to run out a little bit on me. Now, when you get around here, you can start spinning this around a little bit so we can get these two pieces closer together. It's wanting to push that bottom piece out, so you might want to lift your foot just a little bit, let some pressure off of that, get that squared back around, and then lower your foot back down. Again, as your foot raises, you can spin it. And then we can pull this piece back and start pulling these together where the first stitch wanted to pull them apart. Now I'm getting to the point where I can pull them back together. Again, I want to stop, check, make sure I'm still got thread in my bobbin on the underneath side. So far, so good. And then you can, I'll show you how to do this. Pull that back around here. Do a couple more stitches. Try to meet that other side like I did on the front. Okay, so on this, you can spin this around and go backwards. So you can do a back stitch, and that's what I want to do right here. So I'm going to lift my foot, spin my foot around 180 degrees, lower my foot again, and then I'm going to do a back stitch. Raise my foot, turn my foot around 180 degrees again. So basically, and then I'll lower my foot. So what you're doing is you're basically putting in a locking stitch here. And then come up, raise my foot, I'll pull some thread through the machine, and that'll allow it to pull out because I want plenty of thread here at the end for my next stitch that I start. And I always keep just a little pair of sewing scissors, clippers, so I can clip my threads nice and neat. And then I won't need to tie that or anything. This end here, I am going to clip it. The end that I started, I'm going to clip those threads off, and I'm going to double stitch that back to make sure that doesn't come apart. So I will put that back in the machine right on that stitch line, lower the foot, go ahead and stitch that again, pull the needle up, raise my foot, spin my foot around 180 degrees, lower it, back stitch it, and then raise my foot again, spin it 180 degrees, lower my foot, and then that's been back stitched. So I'll pull some thread out here again, cut it, and cut the thread where I started. And then I'll go back and look at these stitches as I went through. Right here at the eye, where it got real thick, I'm going to have to go back and touch that up. And then right here at the mouth, I missed a little spot. So I'm going to do the mouth piece first. And what I'll do is I'll drop the foot back a few stitches. And it's such a short area that I missed, I'll go ahead and go to where my stitches started again, and it lays flat. And what I'll do is bring my needle up, lift my foot, turn my foot 180 degrees, just like I was going to back stitch, lower my foot, and what I'll do is I'll back stitch that whole area that I just stitched. that should be good and strong. So I'll lift my foot up, turn it back 180 degrees so it comes toward me. Again, I'm going to pull some thread out. That's the thing too I've learned on this machine, that you want to be really careful about pulling the thread out. It's easier to pull all the tension and pull the thread out by hand and give you some leeway, because that way you don't snap the thread. If you snap the thread, you got to rethread the machine. So you want to be careful with that. So there's that part. I'll go back and hit this eye again. And I have a feeling that my eyes are going to be awful close to the top. It just feels like that's what's going to happen when I get done here. I think it's trying to close up, but and I'll do the same thing. I'll lift the foot. Well, it looks like I need to go a couple more stitches. There we go. I'll lift the foot, turn it 180 degrees, lower the foot, and then back stitch it. And then lift the foot, turn it 180 degrees again, lower it, and lock that stitch in. And then try not to have tension on your string when you're cutting it too, so it doesn't bounce back into your machine and come through your needle, or bounce back into your bobbin. Alright, so there you go. It's all stitched up. Now we can turn it inside out and we'll be ready to stuff it. I'm not sure how difficult this is going to be. It's like putting on a glove, but we're going to find out. I probably could use a stick, I would imagine, to help like push the ears down and everything. We'll see when we get over to the bench. That's where I'm going to do this, is over on the workbench. So I'll take you over there and I'll see you there. Alright, we're back to our normal spot, and you can see the stitching around. So let's see if we can get this thing turned inside out. And I'm going to start by seeing if I can get my hand in there and push the nose part inside out. That may be easier said than done. stitching done, got the eyes on. Next time we come back, we'll be doing the stuffing, and once we get the stuffing on there, we'll close it up, put it on the stick, and then the last thing we need to do is put the bridle and the mane on. And I did, as I said in the last video, I did make the mane out of some burlap string and braided it, so it's done, it's ready to put on. So we'll catch that next time. So thanks for watching, I appreciate it. And get out of these hot gloves. And there's the next step on the stick horse project. So come on back next week, check out the next step. We'll get it stuffed, we'll get the stick on there, and we'll start putting the bridle together. So as I always say, please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.